I'm Maya from Book from Dreams, and welcome to week 3 of trying to read my Reddit Fantasy Bingo DBR. This last week was a bit of a... It was successful because I read like 2 huge tomes, and I read a 400-page book, so overall like 1,500 pages that I've read last week, which is great, but that's only 3 books. I have 11 books left. So, I left last week to chance. This week I will be strategizing and trying to read as much as I can. So we will start with The Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lynn Tan. This is a YA fantasy finale of a duology, so book 2, in which we follow... this is the sequel to The Daughter of the Moon Goddess, I think. And basically we follow the daughter, whose name, of course, I don't remember. She basically, in the first book, tried to do her best to protect her mother, who lived on the moon. She was banished there by the king. She basically goes back to Earth and becomes friends with the king's son. And I do believe she was doing like a military academy sort of things, training. She was also, learning about people and learning about stuff, and what happened I don't really remember. Hopefully there will be a little bit of a recap at the beginning of the book. So yeah, I'm going to start to listen to that now, and I'll talk to you when I, listen to something. All right. Hi, it's Tuesday evening. It's almost 9 p.m. I am officially DNFing The Heart of the Sun Warrior by Sue Lynn Tan. I got to 40% of the book, and I could not care less. Okay. So in the story, we follow our main female character. In the first book, she completed an impossible mission and tricked the emperor into saving her mother, who is the goddess of the moon. Her mother's task is to light up the moon every evening. And she got that task. That is her punishment, because she stole a potion that gives you eternal life from the emperor or her husband. Anyway, there was a potion that was meant for her husband because her husband did an impossible task. And the emperor rewarded him with this, elixir of, immortal life and whatnot. She took it and ran off to the moon. And her punishment is to, work on the moon, I guess. So that was book 1. And with her actions, our main character's action in book 1, she sort of pissed off the emperor. And now he's looking for things and reasons to mess with her. He has a son, of course, they are in love. But there's also there was a character of a captain in the army, the bad boy. Turns out he's the bad boy. And, right, so there's like a love triangle thing here because, the prince asked her to marry him, and she was uncertain because of, his family fucking hates her and her family, so, And then the bad boy comes and he's like, oh, I heard you're getting married. No, I'm not, and whatever. Anyway, so it has a love triangle, which I'm not really a fan of. It also has a very unsubtle bad guy, which I also don't like. And just the story of the second book is, someone is messing with them and ruining their lives, and now they have been banished from the moon. They actually escaped the moon because they didn't want to end up in a tower for all eternity and whatnot. Basically, our main character just wants to protect her mother, and she finds out that dad is still alive, and she wants to protect him somehow, but she doesn't tell people shit. And anyway, I just could not be bothered, and so I decided to DNF it. I think this book would work really well for someone who has just started reading fantasy. This has lots of Chinese mythology, and this is actually a retelling of this famous Chinese myth about the daughter of a famous archer guy whose name escapes me now. Sadly, it's not for me, so I'm DNFing that one. There are a lot of people sprinting right now. So I am going to use that time to work on this. So this is When Gracie Met the Grump. I talked about this in week 1. This was supposed to be like my bedside read. Like I was going to listen to an audiobook and then read this at some points. And I haven't really. I am now to page 70 of 600. And basically Gracie lives in a trailer. And she's surrounded by land. And she goes running one night. And then the Grump... basically, he's a superhero in her world, he is part of the Trinity, right? Anyway, he's the Defender. That's his superhero name. He basically collapses, falls out of the sky in front of her house trailer, and he's like broken. Like his suit is, destroyed. He can barely move. She somehow manages to place him in her trailer, and she's slowly taking care of him while he basically just grunts at her. He doesn't talk a lot. He basically looks at her with, I don't wish to say disdain, but it's like suspicion and whatnot. And we still have no idea what the fuck is happening. Like, who managed to defeat him and whatnot. So yeah, we are slowly going to figure that out. So yeah, I'm going to work on this today. And then I'll start another audiobook tomorrow while I simultaneously work on this. So we'll see what happens. Hi. Last I spoke to you, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. Now it's Sunday afternoon. So what has happened this week is that after DNFing The Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan, I decided to focus on When Gracie Met the Grump by Mariana Zapata, and I finished it late last night. So this is a over 600 page book, which basically I think I read 300 pages yesterday. The whole Saturday I just sat down after doing whatever cleaning chores and whatever I have to do. I sat down and read it and finished it. This is a slow burn romance in which we meet Gracie. Gracie is living her life a bit isolated from people for reasons. And one day, a superhero, there are like 3 main superheroes in her world, basically crash lands in her backyard, and she takes care of him. That's like the overall summary of this book. When I decided to read this, I divided it into 3 parts, and as you can see, I put lots of tabs because I found the development of the relationship fascinating. So basically, in the first part of the book, the thing that I just said happens. So a superhero falls in her yard, and she basically takes care of him. And she feeds him. She makes sure he's comfortable, and she tries to talk to him, but he's very grumpy and angry and in a lot of pain, so he basically communicates through grunts. So she's like, okay, so you're here, I'm not gonna tell people you're here. She's also in hiding, and let's try to figure out how to deal with this situation. And throughout this first part, we sort of find out about her life, that she was raised by her grandparents because her parents were a bit of shifty people. And we basically find out that she doesn't really communicate with people. She has like an online job. She's a tutor and she translates stuff. She speaks several languages. She likes to watch TV, and she's a big fan of the superhero. She recognizes the superhero, and she sort of has this opinion of that you're supposed to help people. This is how she was raised. You're supposed to help people, be nice and whatnot. So she's helping him, even though he is grumpy and very mean to her and rude. She's used to helping people because she took care of her grandparents as they were getting older and couldn't take care of themselves. She also has this thing where she gets a stomachache whenever something bad's about to happen,
or when something like monumental is about to happen. So at the end of part 1 and at the beginning of part 2, basically, her location gets discovered by the people who are hunting her. Not hunting, trying to find her because of reasons. Now I'm going to go into spoilers because it's important for the plot. So basically, her parents are shifty because at some point they took a lot of money from a drug cartel, and now this cartel is after them. So we are assuming that the parents are dead. So they're looking for her, and they find her, and they capture her, and they capture the dude. I think his superhero name is the Defender. So she basically tries to warn the Defender guy to run away. He's not capable because he's still injured. We also find out who he is and where he's from and whatnot. She is trying to protect him from the cartel. They both get taken. And then in the second part of the book, she gets tortured more than he does. They're trying to get information from her, where the money is and whatnot. And they escape because the Defender gets well enough to help them escape. And they're on the lam. And, at one point they connect with the Defender's, let's call them home team. And, from then on, stuff happens. I'm not going to spoil much more. But I was a bit unsure about this book. But I did really enjoy it. I had fun reading it. It was very engaging. I found some parts a bit repetitive because Gracie has a lot of internal monologue. I mean, she's been alone for a while, so she is used to going through things inside her head. And there were like several information that keeps getting repeated. How her life with her grandparents, to take care of grandparents, impacted her. How, she's lonely. How she has been hiding from the world because she had to hide from the cartel, so she didn't have lots of experiences, that regular people do. And sort of the Defender guy becomes like her first and only friend that she has, and they sort of share this traumatic experience by being taken by the cartel and doing whatnot. And from there on, they sort of start this friendship. But there is also a bit of, oh God, from his side, from the Defender's side, a bit of, he was running hot and cold in the third part of the book. In the first 2 parts, he was like grumpy, he was very angry. We later realize why, and which doesn't excuse his behavior at all. But, he sort of has this code of honor, and he has the way like his people deal with things. So since Gracie defended him and took care of him, he's like, now I'm in your debt, and, I'll take care of you. I mean, watch over you, take care of you, forever. And, at one point, he's like, well, you can come live with me because, her whole, basically, life exploded and she can't go back. And then he tells her that. They're talking about this in the second part of the book. Like, you can come live with me and, I'll take care of you, protect you from whatnot, from the cartel. And then when this happens, he basically comes home from a meeting with his people. And he's like, well, you need to, be sure about what this is. Like, minimizing their relationship and making Gracie feel like shit because, she doesn't have an option. He basically comes at her and says, well, I offered and you accepted immediately, like making her feel like she's like not a gold digger, but a person who takes advantage of other people, and, since now she's without anything, it makes her seem like, whatever, not greedy, but, like she's going to take advantage. And she's like, well, of course I'm going to take advantage of this. You offered to like put me up and now you're giving me shit. And there's like lots of miscommunication because I felt like it wasn't explained well whether he was testing her or he's just so bad at communicating and dealing with people that he couldn't just tell her, well, this is what worries me. And, but, there were points when he showed his maturity and showed that he can do it. But then like 3 pages later, he couldn't do it. And it was so confusing at times and a bit enraging. But it did give you a level of anxiety that I enjoy while reading romances, when you're like unsure what's going to happen. So yeah, I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I am curious to read more from the author. This was really, really fun. And yeah, I finished this. And that would be like the last book I'm going to talk about this week. So it turns out that this week, basically, I read one thing. I DNF'd the YA fantasy book and I read this one, which leaves my current number at, I want to say 13. Is it 13? 8. Not 13. 8. Fuck. Which which technically leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books to read, because I didn't have one. So yeah, 9 books to read for next week. I have 1 week left of this project. So what will I do? Who knows?